내 음악의 baseline 내 몸짓의 baseline 내 삶 속의 baseline 내 성공의 baseline baseline 지금부터 bass time 느껴지는 bass time when you see my baseline 저 세상 ace 본질은 늘 case 외징어를 입력해 I don't need your hate call they say bass song 근거 없는 채정 애들에게 뱉어 over baseline street dance 10년 내 육철 리듬으로 자다듬 멋진 rap 연예인 tag top class but 아직도 비꾸는 life plan 가져해 내 음악의 꿈이 아직 남아있기에 열일해 내 직업에 감사함이 나의 원베이 내 수저로 다 떠먹어버려 유비무한 나에게 걱정은 없어 baseline 내 성과의 원천 over 이제 모든 세상을 엎어 누구보다 열심히 했기에 데뷔를 자고 더 해서 됐기에 너 위에 영화 같은 인생의 main base main stage 정신 못 차린 애들 다 play baseline 내 음악의 baseline 내 몸짓의 baseline 내 성공의 baseline baseline 지금부터 baseline 느껴지는 baseline.
Okay, so Hobie, shall I give his overview?
Yeah, before we start, I just want to say one thing.
Go for it.
I cannot look at Hobie's face and not smile.
Yeah.
I just can't. Anyway.
No, I'm the same way. Like, we have the slideshow playing, and I'm just like, hee hee hee. Even when he's being Jay.
Yeah. Like right now.
Yeah. All right, so our dear J-Hope, aka Hobie, well, his real name is Jung Hoseok. So, Hobie grew up in Gwangju, which is another region in Korea, and he was part of a dance crew named Neuron, and they won regional dance competitions, I believe. So they
were quite famous, yeah.
Yeah, he was pretty well known, and especially he was well known for his pop and lock dance style. Mm-hmm. And I was watching his old vlogs and stuff, and he was just talking about how growing up he loved dance so much that he just often wouldn't study, and he would just leave the house early in the morning to go practice, to go dance. And it's just I think like Yoongi, he just knew, he's like, academics is not for me, that's not my strong suit. Dancing is where I can excel. That is where I can get ahead on my merit. And plus, I just freaking love dance. Mm-hmm. So, fun fact, he was briefly a JYP trainee until, because there was a trainee partnership program between Big Hit and JYP. Probably because Bang PD Nim and Mr. JYP knew each other and they're friends.
Mm-hmm. So I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so when that period ended, Hobie transitioned just to being a Big Hit trainee full-time. Mm-hmm. So when he joined Big Hit, he had all this dancing background, but he really had no education or experience in singing, rapping, making music. So there's a clip of him in American Hustle Life where he's talking about how he, in the beginning especially, felt distant from the other guys because they all had so much of a stronger educational experience, background than him. But even, and apparently they all like to have freestyle rapping sessions too. And so if every time they did that, he'd still try to join in, even if he wasn't very good. Mm-hmm. So I just found that very admirable.
He said something along the lines of, rather than trying to overcome the distance, I wanted to close the distance, which is a great mentality to have.
Agreed. So these days, he is the dance leader of BTS. So meaning he learns the choreo first and then teaches it to the other guys. And then he is just in charge of reviewing their dancing in performances and in music videos, in award shows or whatever, and telling them how to correct it and make it more perfect. So that is his background.
Yes.
Do you have any comments before I go into why I fucking love him?
Oh my God, same. But so I think probably all I would have to say is something that I found very interesting was how Tay said on American Hustle Life as well, how at the beginning, Hobie used to just joke around when he was dancing, when he was showing something, like it would just be kind of like an over the top, like showing off of something. And then in American Hustle Life, he really brought it and showed his skill. And Tay said something like, I think most people didn't realize how good he is because in choreo you can only shine so much, right? And you can't really show your own personal style because you're fit to a style that all the other members have to be able to do as well. And so I loved Hope on the Street for that, and the segments in American Hustle Life where we just really got to see just how talented he is. And I loved in American Hustle Life when all the like professional dancers were just blown away by how amazing he was, and I loved that.
Have you ever seen that comment? I don't remember where it's from, but Namjoon's just saying like the way Hobie moves is like water. Like all of his, like he doesn't move like a human. All of his muscles and joints are just connected, and he moves like water. And I'm like, what a good metaphor. Maybe that's why I should have picked Namjoon to write my song. Maybe I messed up there.
I think the most impressive thing for me with Hobie's dance is his isolation. So the way that he can move certain aspects of his body and keep other aspects of his body in a different place. So it looks like you are isolating one part of your body away from the rest of it. And he does it so easily, like all the time, the way that he can move his chest or his arms or his head, and just the sharpness that he has with it. It takes so much skill to be able to do that.
You know what it does? It takes so much skill and so much practice. And
yes,
that is a great segue into just me wanting to talk about the fact that he is such a perfectionist and he is so hardworking. He has such an incredible work ethic because he understood. Again, I think all of our 7 favorite men have to be considered in the context that they come in. They come from a country that right now has a 10% unemployment rate for youth. So it is, and there is such high competition in Korea over jobs, over getting into the college of your choice and getting set up for a good future. And in that context where your parents just want the best for you and want you to succeed in the most surefire way, to be Hobie and say, that's not for me, I'm not good at that, I don't want to do that, I want to dance. That is where I'm passionate, and that is where my hard work will pay off. I'm not a lazy person, I just want to focus my abilities and my attention in a different way.
I know this is really serious and stuff, but I just had that meme pop up into my head that was like, no, Dad, I want to dance. You know what I mean?
Yes, that is Hobie.
I also wanted to just talk about how amazing and grateful I think we all are to Hobie's mum and just how awesome she must be. And I mean, the song Mama makes me cry every time. I say this all the time about how many songs make me cry, but that song makes me cry a lot.
Listen, I don't think it's uncommon for ARMYs to just sob uncontrollably at any song that BTS made. I completely agree with you, though, about his mom must be incredible if he wrote such a beautiful song to her.
And he says in it, like, she went away from home, she took on multiple jobs to be able to pay for this, and my dad didn't want me to do this, but she just put her foot down and made sure that I was able to do this. And just respect. And especially because Hobie even says in this song, like, I'm sorry that it took me so long to realize how much you've done for me. And so even at the time, like, she wasn't, like, he probably, when you're young, like, you don't really realize how much parents do for you and things like that. And so you're not really grateful about it, like, in the way that you should be. Just, it's kind of expected because they're your parents, you know. But she just must be an incredible woman, honestly. I have a lot of admiration for her. Yeah.
I like how you say that as this picture cycles back through.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. Ugh, you made me emotional talking
know.
about that.
Yeah. And just the way, to make you more emotional, the way that he's like, you don't have to worry anymore and you can smile because now I'll be the one taking care of you.
Can I just say, I am so glad that BTS make music about subjects outside of I love you, I miss you, I want you, I'm rich.
Yes.
Did you notice that, well, I'm sure you did, that like Yoongi, Hobie, J-Hope, put a lot of thought into his name, his stage name.
Yes.
So, like, from what I know, he said somewhere that he was playing around with and like trying to figure out what to make a stage name, and he was talking about it with Bang PD Nim, and they were like, he wanted it to have the letter J in it and to have like the Ho syllable from Hoseok.
Yes.
And so like they just kept playing around and trying to find something for, you know, to work there, and then they thought of the word hope. And like he says that it's like, well, when you think of Pandora's box and this fable of how Pandora opened the box, and when all the evils and everything in life came out, the only thing left was hope. And so that's what he wants to be. And it like really resonated with him, that idea that in a world filled with so much struggles and hardships for everyone, he wants to make the conscious effort to be everyone's hope and inspiration.
Yeah, and I mean, I went back over Hope World this week to
I love his
listen to
mixtape.
that. Oh, it's amazing. So great. But yeah, I went back over it and all the lyrics and things, and I think he really addresses everything surrounding his name in that mixtape. And the first point is that he just wants to be somebody who makes people happy. And so I have written some lyrics here that I found. So it became my desire to want to give meaning. So all you have to do is, oh, my slide is the wrong way. So all you have to do is receive it. And so he's saying, like, once he found this name, it kind of became his life, and he decided, I feel like he decided from that moment, like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring hope to people, and I'm going to make people smile. And so his whole outlook on life shifted, and he became very focused on making people happy and having a smile on his face. And that's an amazing thing. And how much
What is this
change...
picture?
Oh my god. Accurate though. That's basically what I'm saying right now.
And here's Jay.
Yeah. But so, yeah, this is still part of the first point of, like, I feel like him coming up with that name and trying to fulfill the message behind it really shaped the person that he is today. And it was such a pivotal moment in his life, because we know him as our sunshine, our hope, our, like, reason to feel happy, to smile. He brings up the mood for everyone, and he's kind of adapted to this name. And I wouldn't say it's like, because I don't want this to seem like I'm saying he's acting in a certain way, because I don't think that. I just feel like
I think it's a mentality. Yeah, it's a mentality that he chose to have. And like, he even said somewhere, he was being interviewed somewhere, and he was like, I have chosen to smile when life is hard, because when I'm smiling, I can't feel sad.
Yeah. And I mean, he talks a lot about it in his mixtape of, I just chose to be a piece of peace. So
I love that
if
song.
I can be, oh, that's my favorite. If I can be, he says something like, if I can be a ray of light for someone, or, you know, a help to someone, like, that's what I want to be. And I want to be able to make people smile and to make people happy and to help them when they're feeling down. And it's just such a sweet thing that he's able to do. And then the other side, the point two of that is how much pressure that is, how much burden that is, and how hard that is. And he talks about this in Hope World as well, of especially in Daydream, and I'm not sure which the other one was now where he talks about this. It might be Hope World. But he talks about how, like, I want to cry in peace. I want to get drunk and party with my friends and, you know, go crazy. And I can't do any of those things. And I can't be sad. Because he's a role model and he's hopeful and he's happy. And so he doesn't get to do that. And that honestly makes me so sad.
Yeah.
But it's
one can only hope that they get to do it privately, at least sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that that's the positive and negative of this way of thinking, because if it was all doom and gloom, like he never gets to do anything he wants to do and blah 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 blah, then I would feel a lot more sad. But I think it's the fact that this is what he wants. He wants to be happy. He wants to be hopeful, and he gets to experience the good too, you know.
Agreed. And that's also what he sings about in Airplane Part 2.
Yeah.
Something else I wanted to bring up is the fact that he is a sunshine, and his ability to be lighthearted and silly and foolish, and to just like his energy is infectious. Like, you can't not watch him and not find yourself smiling and wanting to participate in his silliness, because he does it so unabashedly, and you're like, yeah, I want to be like that too. That seems like so much fun. Except in this picture right here where he looks very angry. Yeah.
I mean, like, for me, I find it very hard to embarrass myself. Like, I try not to take myself too seriously, and I don't think that I am a very serious person, but I couldn't be just completely out there and not care about how I was portrayed or how I came across, or if I did something completely stupid, I would feel embarrassed about it. And I just admire that so much about him, that he honestly doesn't care. He will walk around making stupid noises, and
I love his little cutesy stupid noises.
They're my favorite thing. Like, when I watched the most recent Run episode, I honestly watched his sound effects like over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because they were just everything. And just things like that, like he'll be on the red carpet and he'll start dancing, or he'll be in an interview and he'll just be silly and sing. And do you remember that one when he started singing and then Namjoon was like, I'm sorry, he's a rapper?
Yeah. Well, like, I'm thinking of when they were on the Stephen Colbert Show, or it's not the Stephen Colbert Show. What is it? The Tonight Show with Stephen Colbert now? Is that what it's called?
I don't know what the name is.
Whatever. It's like the one where they ended up doing like the Beatles spiff. But like when they were interviewed beforehand, and Stephen Colbert asked like, oh, well, do you guys like any Beatles songs? And then Namjoon was like, Hobie, take it away. And Hobie just started singing like Hey Jude. And I just love how they all joined in, and like then the band that's in the studio started to play it, and you can see Stephen Colbert's face turning red because it like caught him off guard. And Stephen Colbert is known for being silly and being out there, and like to know that this caught him off guard, he was like, oh my god, made me like die laughing. I loved it so much.
Yeah, and it's just so great, because if you don't know someone like that personally, you're just like, what is happening? But then like when you know to expect it, it's just so funny. And I think it's similar with Jin, how he is often silly to like brighten the mood and to make everyone feel at ease, and I love that he's able to do that. But I think a lot of the time as well, he's just so silly and playful. And even when you see them in like more laid back settings that aren't interviews, like the Bon Voyages or things like that, he's just the same. And like there was have you watched the recent Run episode? You haven't, have you? No.
Don't ask me how many I have to catch up on.
I'll try not to be too spoilery, but they had a conversation about how Hobie is just never quiet. And they were saying, at first I thought he was doing it because he didn't like awkward silences, or like he wanted to brighten the mood and stuff. But then I realized he just doesn't shut up. Like, he's just talking and making noise all the time. And that's just him. And I just adore that about him. Like with his, when he's choreographing and he's like, ba, 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 ba. Like, he's just always making sounds. And
well, can I just say for that to me makes more sense, because I know like you're supposed to count like 1, 2, 3, 4 and like whatever. If I was in his shoes, I wouldn't say numbers, first off, because that requires thinking. It's just easier to go ba ba ba, like that's what you want to do. That's the best way that you communicate what it is that you want people to do.
So moving away from the silly side, unless you have anything else you wanted to add about that.
1 second, let me check my notes. Oh, I love that he's afraid of everything, and his reactions to being startled are so over the top.
So over the top.
I get it. When you allow yourself to fully indulge in your reaction, it helps you be less afraid. But at the same time, like, the smallest thing will set him off, and it's just like not equivalent, not proportional.
Yeah, I love that too. Like, do you remember that video where they all were forced to watch one of those videos where it has like a jump scare in it? It's like an old Bangtan bomb. And everyone else was like, okay. Or they did a little like that. And Hobie was the only one who like fully got scared, like fell out of his chair and hit his leg on the table. And it was just so funny. But so the thing I wanted to move on from this is how, even though he has this side and he's so playful and so much fun and so energetic, he has this capacity to be so serious and so like dedicated, and he's a very great leader as well. He's able to be very on point.
Don't they call him like the vice president? Like if Namjoon's the leader, he's the second one in command. Yeah.
And Namjoon said that Hobie kind of makes up for all the things he's not so good at. So he's kind of like the leader behind the scenes. I think that's what they've said before about him.
I love that.
Yeah. Like Namjoon is very much the face and the one who kind of presents things and takes charge of their shows and getting them ready and motivated and things like that. But then in the back, it's like Hobie who's like, okay, you need to do this and you need to do this and how are you feeling? And just, yeah, it's great.
That's just more proof that you need all 7 of them to make it work.
But yeah, I just love how serious he is and how much he appreciates and puts into his craft. Like how and you really see it when the 2 things that I can think of. First of all, when he's monitoring their performances or when he's telling them what they need to do, he's very much like, okay, so you need to do this, and right here you have to come in and do this right here at this count, and okay, right, so gather up, remember that you have to go over here. Like he's very much in the zone, and he's just such a great teacher, I guess.
He's very good at the details. Like he doesn't just say, you should go work on being better at dancing, good luck. He's I will help you step by step, do this, 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 and this, here's how it works.
Yes. And the other thing that I really
wanted to point
reliable. Out, so reliable, yeah. The other thing I wanted to point out was that episode where he goes in to teach the trainees or to monitor them.
For like that other show?
Yeah, where they're doing fake love and he goes in and do you know what I loved so much about it? Is of course we know our Hobie as bright and sunshine and just so likable and so easy to talk to and could make anyone feel comfortable. But when he went into that show, it was very much business as normal. You have a competition to win. You're going to do our song and I want to make sure you're doing it justice. So I'm not going to go easy on any of you. I'm going to monitor you. I'm going to tell you exactly how you need to improve. I'm not going to be mean about it, but I'm going to be very serious about it because this is a serious thing. And I just loved that we got to see that side of him so much. Me because too. He's not just like a lot of people are just like, oh yeah, J-Hope, he's silly and goofy and jokes around all the time and is sunshine. But he's a lot more. Like he also has this really great professionalism, and he really believes in people, and he wants people to be the best that they can be. And if that means him being serious and stern and like not taking it easy on others and telling them the truth so that they can improve, then that's what he's going to do.
Girl, preach. I adore everything you just said, and that is what I really relate to. I love the fact that he's such a perfectionist and that he's so serious about getting to the goal. I think he is one of, well, they all are reasons why they succeeded, but his strict adherence and discipline to perfecting their choreo and to making sure that he taught them what it was supposed to look like has been such a strength for them. There is no laziness in that group. They all reaffirm for each other why it is important to work so hard and that it is attainable to reach the kind of perfection that they get to in choreo. It's just crazy.
Yeah. And honestly, like if they didn't have somebody like that making sure that their choreo was so on point, then like maybe they wouldn't be so skilled as they are now, because one of the things that people often point out about BTS is how on point they are, to the fact that every hand movement is in the right position. They are all doing the exact same thing at the right moment. And I think that a lot of that is because of Hobie, because of the way that he teaches and he monitors, and they just really benefited so much from his dedication.
Well, think about it. Like, let's say they didn't have someone like him. They would still have dance teachers, right? They would still have somebody who was in charge of teaching them the choreo. But that teacher is not around for the practice all the time. Only the members are. So it is only from within that you can have that kind of discipline and that kind of, like, ridiculous pursuit of perfection. It has to come from within. And if you didn't have someone like Hobie, they would just be like, okay, it is what it is. Like, here's as best as we can.
And the other thing about it is, like, a teacher, like, they're there to teach, but they don't really care how well they do. Like, of course they might have an affinity to the group. They might like them. They might want them to do the best, but it's not going to be to the same magnitude as how you want yourself to be perfect, because like, if especially like some people are much better than others at seeing it, and I just respect him so much. And I have two quotes in the back of my head that I've just thought of that I wanted to talk about. One of them is when Namjoon is talking about, or when they're all talking about how Hobie almost left the group, and how Namjoon went to it might have been Bang PD, who went to talk to him and said, we need him. Like, we won't make it without him. And I think it really goes to show just how valued he was and how important to the team he was. And the other quote is, I'm not sure where it comes from, but recently I heard that somebody said that every idol group needs a J-Hope.
Wow.
And yeah. I agree, because he's got it all. He's got so much stage presence. He's got so much work ethic. He is great, like, at easing the tension. He's so likable, and he's glue. Like, he holds everyone together, and he was born to be on stage.
Agreed. Agreed. Something else I wanted to say. Speaking of his dancing, I just wanted to say that I loved that in Boy Meets Evil that they showcased his ability to dance. That entire music video was him going to town to the point where he, destroys the concrete because his dancing is that impactful. I loved it. And then the way they what was it? I think it was Mama 2016, where he was on stage with Jimin, and Jimin's like the mashup with Lie. Still one of my favorite things I've ever seen them do. It is so hauntingly beautiful. And the first time I ever saw that, I was blown away that they could think of something like that, considering, I don't know, where like their background, like that they could go from strict hip hop to this point of contemporary rap, dance, just this. I just love it. I like rewatched it yesterday and was drooling over how incredible it is. It's been 4 years since that thing came out, and I'm still enamored with it.
Yeah. I mean, I get a bit annoyed about the camera of that performance, but it's still incredible. Yeah, there's just certain bits where they miss like really significant movements, and that kind of annoys me, but it's fine. Yeah. But I mean, we'll get more into this when we get to Jiminy next week. But I just love the different dynamics that they bring. Like when they do the same dance routine, how one of them is completely inspired and like trained, and kind of the core of the movement is from hip hop, and how in the other, the core of the movement is contemporary. And they're both able to do the same types of routines, but you just see it from such a different perspective. And I love that contrast that they have between the two of them, from where they came from as dancers initially. And it really is highlighted in that performance of just how they can do the same thing, but just in such unique ways.
Yeah, I have never seen anything, any other group, any other person be able to replicate what they made there.
Yeah. Okay, so moving on. I also love, let's see what's the best thing to talk about next. Let's talk about his rap and his producer skills, like his talent musically. I think that's a good one to move on to after dance. So what are your opinions on kind of his rap, his skill, where he's come? And
I think I've mentioned this last week. I love how melodious his rap is. I appreciate it as something that I don't often see, or I can't think of any other examples right now of someone who raps like that, because I don't speak Korean, so I can't appreciate the language in the same way a native speaker could. What I can appreciate, though, is what I hear. And if what I hear is really catchy and makes me want to sing along or in whatever way I can, then that is a good song.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I think that his rap is just so different from anything. And I find it really hard to explain, but I think your use of like melodic rap is very true to form. Like, I think his flow is great. And I've kind of talked to you about this before, and maybe I shouldn't use the explicits that I've used when talking to you, but
whatever, we've gone in very inappropriate tangents on this episode already. What's one more?
Okay, so honestly, the way I've always kind of viewed Hobie's rap, and not in everything, but I think he has a very interesting way of playing with build-ups. And I basically described to Yami how I feel like his verse in basically sounds like what an orgasm feels like. Because it's like,
is she wrong though?
And then it's like, come up, and you want it to come, and you want it to come, and then it's like, bam! And you're like, it was everything I needed. And I feel like that's like one of the best ways to describe his skill, is it just teases you, and it leaves you wanting more and more, and it builds you up, and it gets you to that place, and it's just so creative. And I think you were saying to me that DJs use that technique a lot, and they do, like with their like it happens a lot in music.
It's a build up and then you get the drop.
Yeah,
which is what everybody wants, but he does it with his voice, which is so much harder.
Right? Like he manages to do that with just his voice, and I think it's so clever and just so different, so unique. And I love like the tone of his voice as well, how it's a lot more high than the others. Like he can go lower as well, and he has in certain songs, but just the pitch of it. And the other thing I wanted to mention was how great of a singer he is. Like he could have easily been a singer. He could have started off as a singer and like took vocal training and become an idol who sings. So he really is the golden young, as some people say. He just
Aw,
can do it
I like
all.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will say I really like what his voice sounds like. I think it's a very unique sound, and
Mm-hmm.
he's really fun to mimic. Like even
Mm-hmm.
when he like has that like raspy, high pitched voice, that's really fun to like mimic when you're singing his songs.
Yeah, because so a band that I really like that probably nobody will have heard of is Biffy Clyro. They're a Scottish band. They're like an indie rock band. They're really great. But the thing that I love so much when I'm listening to their music is they have a really thick Scottish accent that you really hear. And it's so much fun to like emulate and try to like do yourself. And I feel like it's the same with Hobie and the way that his words come out, and you can just like put on that voice and it's just great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The other thing I also wanted to mention is that he has such a funky style. Like
Yes.
the way he I mean it comes across in his music too, but also the way he dresses, the way he puts beats together.
Yes.
Like all the music that he made for Hope World, especially Daydream, is so funky and it's so unapologetically him, and it inspires me to, be my own style because somebody you can appreciate it even if it's not your exact style.
Yeah. That was actually going to be my next point with his like producing,
One
because
brain
I feel
cell.
exactly, yeah, I feel exactly the same. Like I feel like he just came out of the 80s. Like it's like an old school hip hop mixed with funk, and then like his studio and the cover art of his album, like it's all so 80s and so funky and so like, and I love it so much. It's
Well,
just
you know what else it is? 80s was a time of it's the time of nostalgia, right? It was a time of peace, prosperity. It was a good decade. So it's I think it's common for people to think back on it. I would actually expect that more from his parents than from him, but maybe it is his influence of his parents on him.
I mean, all I think of when I think of the 80s is the AIDS crisis, but I think that was the
Okay.
80s. So
Okay.
that's a random point. But when you said, oh, it was a happy time, I was like, oh.
Okay, I'm generalizing here. I don't know.
Oops.
I don't know. I don't know anything.
I just made a very loud bang. But yeah, I just like his kind of style reminds me of like, I don't know, just all those like big platformed boots and bright orange and smiley faces, and
It's
yeah,
a good time. He is a good time.
he is a good time.
Can
Yeah.
I want to make a detour and talk about uh, how he can transition from Hobie to Jay really quickly, and it is so hot. I have two examples in mind. One being the infamous hip thrust and like splits during Bepse, during the Love Yourself, Speak Yourself tours.
Yes,
Like,
I know the one you
how-
are referring to.
Well, how many fan cams do we have of him doing that at every concert until it's become like required, where everyone's like waiting, like, all right, give it to us, we need to record it. And then when they were in doing the concert in Saudi Arabia, and he didn't, and we were like, yeah, I guess it makes sense that he didn't do it, but okay. And then if you remember, Namjoon did it. Because he forgot they were supposed to be trying to be more PG-13. And he was like, nope,
Yeah.
we're going all the way.
Yeah, I think like I've kind of mentioned this briefly, but his stage presence is just everything. And the one I always think of, like he's
Cheer.
so sexy on stage. Like I feel like, well, I don't know, it's hard to say because actually when you think about it, they all have different elements. But with Hobie, like, no, the moment I think of is when that water cascades and he just kind of throws his arms back, and it's the coolest shit I've ever seen.
Have you seen his V Live or somewhere where he talked about that he loves that moment because he feels like Poseidon?
Yeah,
That-
Poseidon.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, I would feel like that too, where in the moment it's you showering the crowd with water and it's your cannons. And his
And
face.
he just has this way of just like, he's not human on stage. He's just not. He's this being that just radiates charisma. That's the word. He's so charismatic. He's so sexy, and he knows exactly what he's doing and how to pull it off, and he keeps it up throughout the whole thing. You're drawn to him.
That's what she said.
Stop. But I mean, I say, like, I literally just described an orgasm 5 minutes ago. But no, I feel like the thing I was going to say was how everyone talks about how you always leave a concert a J-Hope bias, because he just draws you in and traps you in his fly trap, and that's it.
I have something soft to say. I don't know if you were part of the fandom at this point or if you saw it, but so his song during Love Yourself was Just Dance. And there's like a part near the end of the song in the concerts that would be like a couple of measures that they added in.
J-Hope.
Well, it was just instrumental for a very long time, and it was just him moving around. And I went to concerts, and it was just instrumental. And then I think it was when they were doing the concerts it was somewhere in Asia, before Hong Kong. I can't remember where it was, but that was, I think, where they started the J-Hope fan chant. Am I wrong? No, I think that's what it was. And
so he wasn't expecting it?
No, and like there's a fan cam somewhere of the very
I've seen it.
Where it
I
happens
just didn't
where
know.
and he just takes out his earpiece, and he has the shock on his face, and then and then he's overjoyed at the fact that people love him so much that they created this chant on the spur of the moment to convey to him the only way they could how much they care for him. And he's so happy. And
that makes that clip even more amazing, because I've seen it before, but I didn't know it was the first time. And oh my God, I have to go find it again so that I can rewatch it.
Yeah. I don't remember exactly where it was, because
I bet it was Brazil.
No, because they only went to Brazil during Speak Yourself.
Yeah,
they didn't go during Love Yourself. And this was like, so Love Yourself was Seoul, and then North America, and then Europe, and then there was a break, and then it was in Asia. And it was somewhere in Asia where the fan chant started, and all of us were like, why didn't we think to do that? So armies everywhere were like, all right, well, now it's a thing, officially part of every single time he sings the song. And then from then on, everyone like chanted his name as if, it was the last thing we were ever going to do.
Yeah, I love that so much. And honestly, I'm just so happy that I feel like Hobie's getting the recognition that he should nowadays. Like, I feel like he was often overlooked, and that makes me so sad, because he's just everything. He deserves it all. He deserves all the praise.
He does. Yeah. I think he was probably overlooked just because he's different.
Yeah, agreed.
He doesn't fit the mold, and he, the entire time, has been unapologetically himself.
Yes.
And that's the part that I also just admire so much.
Me too. And so, talking of soft things, so I had a few soft things that I wanted to talk about. And one of them is how, on ARMYverse, what makes me laugh so much, when he goes on ARMYverse and then you look at the translations on Twitter and things like that, every single time all the translators use some variation of with extra ego, or said really, really cutely, or like...
Yeah, and they're like, we don't know how to translate, how to convey to you how cute this was.
Yeah. And I remember him saying, there's a thing about him, how he didn't like doing it, and he didn't think it was manly, but over time, he really enjoys doing it nowadays, because he knows how happy it makes people, and I love his replies on Weverse. I think each of them, we should do this a segment one time where we talk about how each of them talk on Weverse, but it just makes me laugh so much how every time it's Hobie, it's like he's saying this really adorably, or this has a baby voice added to it. And we've got Mickey here as well.
Yeah. Or he does sound effects.
Yes.
I I think over time he's just accepted that this is the way he likes to express himself, and it's to a massive community of people who are like, yeah, we're eating that shit up. Keep it coming.
Yeah. Yes.
I think we should wrap this up by saying things that we like about him rapid fire.
Okay, perfect. So,
okay, you can start.
I'll start. Yeah. I love how much he's been working on his English to help.
Stop! That was literally my first one.
Oh my god, well, snap, same brain cell. Oh. What even did I just do? What was that movement?
I don't know, but I'll give you the brain cell back. Here, use it.
Okay, yeah, like, how amazing he sounded on all the interviews and talk shows from, like, the last few months. He's improved so much, and I was so proud of him, and you could just tell that he's really done it to try and help Namjoon in interviews, and the thing is, like, you could tell that it wasn't just him memorizing sentences, because a lot of them were very off the fly and long, and his accent was so great, and I was just so proud.
Yeah, it takes a lot of work to understand how to put together the phrases and words that you know into a new sentence. So it just... And
also, I just love how his voice goes all high-pitched and squeaky when he talks in English.
I have a story about that. So all of the Love Yourself tour, they all make ending comments at the end of every concert. And some of them will speak in English and some of them would speak with a translator, and it would just vary on the concert. But in every one that Hobie did, he made a point to speak in English. And then at their last concert that they did in North America in Citi Field, I was there. Like, when they're doing all of their closing comments and they get to Hobie, he was just like, even though I barely speak any English, and like everybody was dying laughing, he's like, I wanted to speak in English for this entire tour to connect with you. And it's just in that moment you're like, you're right, he did speak English everywhere, and it was really heartwarming. Yeah. Right? And none of us expected them to speak English. They don't need to. They could have spoken in Korean. They could have had a translator. They were probably would have expressed themselves better in Korean and, you know, made a more flowery phrase than what they were able to memorize in English. But the fact that they still tried meant so much, because it's crossing a barrier that is so hard to overcome. Language is really hard to overcome. And so I think that's why we appreciate BTS so much, because they have.
Yes, exactly. They found a way, and it doesn't matter. But the fact that they want to go out of their way to just... And, you know, I think the thing that makes me so happy about it is they don't need to bridge the gap. We're very aware of how to benefit from translators. I've never pronounced it like that. From translators. And to wait like an hour for the V Live to be updated, and to read the lyrics, and to, you know, just appreciate it without our language. We're very used to doing that as international fans. So they really don't have to do that. But the fact that they choose to just means that they want to give something more. And they've gone out of their way. It means that much.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why it's so special.
They went the extra mile, and we feel it, and we're like, you already have us, heart and soul.
Yeah.
Why do you need to make me emotional on top of that, right?
Once again, it just goes to show, like, and people from outside the fandom will be like, okay, so they learned a bit of English, like, what does that matter? But when you're inside the fandom, like, you know that they don't have to do that. They really don't. They're doing that because they're choosing to do that as a way of connecting with us, and of helping us to understand and to connect with them more. And on top of all the other things they do and how busy they are. And
have you seen all of those, like, it's on their like the behind the scenes from their Euro tours and all from the like US concerts or from City Field, where they're practicing whatever they want to say in English, in Spanish, in German, in French. They're trying, and they repeat it over and over and over because they're trying to get it down to a point where it's memorized by heart. So in the moment when the spotlight's on them, when there's tens of thousands of people staring at them, they can remember that one phrase that they can say to communicate and to express themselves in the language of the people with them. It touches my heart so much, especially as someone who's multilingual. Like, I speak 4 languages, and the fact that I know how hard it is, and the fact that they still do it, it's just...
Honestly, as somebody who only knows like basic French and Spanish, I admire it so much because honestly, it's so difficult for me to communicate in other languages just because unless you're fluent, you have to kind of process it in your language and then figure out how it is in your brain and then translate it and then say it, but you're not sure if it's 100% right because you just have to kind of go on the moment, and it's really embarrassing, and you don't know if you're pronouncing it right, and you don't know if you're getting it right or if you're making a mistake, and it requires a lot of courage if you're not fluent in another language to try and communicate.
Courage. I think you've hit upon it. Even when especially when they're on those talk shows, on all their US appearances, in the moment, I'm sure they're terrified. And the fact that they speak anyway is so... It's so meaningful.
Okay, this is supposed to be rapid fire.
Sorry.
Your turn.
Sorry. I don't know if he still does this, but I know that they used to talk a lot about how Hobie would touch himself and like stroke himself when he was asleep because like he would just
you
like
should have phrased that a little bit differently because that sounded very wrong.
Well, I mean, I'm sure he does that too. He's a hot-blooded young man, but like he would stroke himself like while half asleep because that's what his parents used. Yeah, that's what his parents used to do when he was going to sleep as a kid. And I just like how the idea of like you have these 7 people, these 7 men who barely know each other, all in one room, and they all have to learn how to deal with each other's weird habits. And his weird habit is he's just half asleep, going like this.
Yeah. Oh my god, I love it. I know a few people that do that, so it's just so funny to me. Yeah, I think it's quite a common thing that like when your parents used to do that when you were young, it's like a comfort thing when you get older.
Aww,
it's so cute.
Okay, but, your turn.
Okay, so I love his heart smile. Like the way it just changes shape into a heart. That's so cute. Like, I don't know anyone else whose mouth changes into a heart when they smile.
No.
Oh, my heart. Okay, you go.
I love that it's become a meme, that time in that BTS Run episode when they were in Canada and they were like staying in a house and they all had to wake up extra early in the morning to go do some like challenge where they had to, I think it was guess lyrics of a song or whatever.
Yeah.
And like you see him come out of the house and he can't open his eyes and he looks so asleep, and I'm like, I have never seen someone look the way I feel every morning. I cannot express to you how connected I felt to him in that moment, and he's just like, what do you want? And his eyes are like this tiny, and he's so done with everything.
And you can tell he literally just opened his eyes and zombie walked to the garden.
Yeah, so like I love that meme, and I love every time it comes back around in my timeline, and it's like related to whatever. I'm like, yep, still relate to that.
I just honestly love it because, like, isn't it so great to see somebody in the morning? I don't know about you, but seeing somebody in the morning, like, whether it be family members or friends or something like that, I just love it so much because they just look so done, and it's just their most, like,
vulnerable
and raw state of mind. And just seeing him like that, it just made me love him so much. Oh, God. It was everything.
Yeah. Okay, your turn.
So I love how much he compliments the other members. Like, he's always got something nice to say about them. And I feel like he's so good for team morale and to lift everybody's spirits and just be like, hey, you did this really good, or look how great you look here, or it's just so sweet. Like if you haven't noticed it yet, like when you're watching things, just take note of how much he compliments people. Ugh, I love
But
it.
also the reverse is true. They all can't stop complimenting
Oh my
him.
God, yeah.
And they think he's such a perfectionist and he's so amazing at everything. And I'm like, yeah, it's because he has this incredible work ethic. I'm sure he's incredibly hard on himself. And I'm sure that's also partially why they compliment him so much, to validate all the hard work that he puts in, because I'm sure he's his own worst critic.
I love the meme about how Sugar is so obviously a J-Hope bias.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's everything. It's so true. It's so true. Like, I feel like you can kind of pick apart which member is each of their bias. Like, kind of, off the top of my head, I can't, but like, I feel like Namjoon is so obviously JK's bias, and Hobie is so obviously Yoongi's bias.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We should do that exercise at some point and think about it.
We should think about who would be each of their biases and bias wreckers. Yeah.
Okay, I have another one.
Yeah.
Their song Otsukare Sama Deshita. Literally, I've never heard anything that this song makes me so incredibly happy, and it gets stuck in my head. So it was like that song, they created it specifically for the Japanese version of the muster. And I've never seen a studio version of it, so I'm quite mad about that, because I want it. And I remember that, like, when I first discovered it, I couldn't stop playing it. Like, it was just playing on repeat. And I found one of those videos on YouTube where it's like 10 hours of blah, blah, blah. And it was 10 hours of Otsukare. And I just listened to it, and it just kept going.
That's funny, because that literally came on my timeline either today or yesterday, and I hadn't seen it in a while. So that's funny that you brought it up. Also, I'd just like to say, we've just passed 0 o'clock here, so
Aww.
every time I look at the clock now and it passes 0 o'clock, I'm like, oh, nice. Okay, so
Did you know what that means, by the way?
what means?
Otsukare sama deshita.
I have no idea, honestly.
It's Japanese for, like, good job, like, you worked hard. It's like what you say at the end of a work day. Stuff like that.
That's really cute.
Yeah, it's a song about saying like you did well, good job. It's such an encouraging song. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to look at the lyrics. Like, there's some video version of it on YouTube where, like, it's them performing it with, like, sing-along lyrics on the bottom. And because it's Japanese, for me personally, that's easier to sing along to than Korean, because Japanese is, like, syllables, and Korean has a lot of round way of saying things that I'm still learning how to pronounce. So, like, it's so much fun for me to just sit there and, like, sing it with them. And I feel like it's kind of almost like a kiddie song. Like, it's what you... But I'm like, I'm the kid. Yeah, good job. I did a good job.
Oh, that's so cute. Yeah, it's the best.
Okay, your turn.
Okay, so what did I have? Oh, I love that he is such a great bridge between the Hyung and the maknae line. Like, he's able to just interact with both in such a great way. I love that. Like,
I think
he can be in either.
He has very high emotional intelligence.
Yes, definitely.
I think that's needed. I think that's one of the ways he makes up for potentially a way that Namjoon isn't as good at.
Yeah, I mean...
Because I'm conflicted in that, because I also think Namjoon has a very high emotional intelligence.
Yeah,
but
I would say. I
don't think Namjoon maybe expresses it as well. But again, this is just me hypothesizing. I obviously don't know that.
I suspect that Namjoon is actually an empath. Do you know what that is?
Where he feels the same emotions
that other people feel, yeah. And I am as well. I'm an empath, and I kind of have come to terms with it for a while now. But I feel like Namjoon is also one. And I mean, I feel like he is very able to understand the emotions of those around him, but maybe not able to comfort in the way that Hobie is. Like, I feel like Hobie provides that emotional opening up and hugs and, you know, that kind of thing that Namjoon finds difficult to do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's accurate, and I think that's what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Okay, are you next or am I next?
I think I'm next. His incredible performance during the Idol intro for MMA 2018, like where it was all traditional. His dance was incredible. His outfit was incredible. His wall of women and their
It didn't look real.
No, it didn't. I thought they were fake. I thought everything was fake. And then also how high off the ground it was. And, like, you know he's afraid of heights. And then, like, there's behind-the-scenes videos of, like, him practicing for it. And how hard he worked to perfect those acrobatic moves. Because he literally jumps over his head with one hand. And
amazing.
He perfected it to the point where it looks effortless. And it literally looks like he's as light as a feather. And it's just easy. Like, he made it look so easy. That's how you know how much he practiced.
Yeah, I still don't think you've seen it yet, but in their
yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Yes.
The MMA?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Yeah, the bit in where they're like, oh, he's like the Matrix, when he's like basically levitating on one arm.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so I just have one more point written down for now, and that is his fashion. How fashionable is he?
Billy, that was my last point.
Well, let's talk about it together then. Okay. That man is just so on point with his fashion, and I feel like he's the type of person that, like, every morning he likes to really sit and consider of what he's going to wear and how he's going to put things together, and maybe not so much when he's training and, you know, but in terms of when he's going to the airport and when he's out shopping and buying clothes. I love
their airport fashion. Like, on that note, our beloved J-Hope, Hobie, Jung Hoseok, we love you.
We love you so much. You make me so happy. Why am I feeling emotional all of a sudden?
Because that's what he does. That's his way of, out of all of them, he makes me so emotional by simply being himself.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful way of phrasing it. He really is just such a light in what otherwise tends to be such a dark and difficult world. Like, you just look at him and that's enough.
I wish I could tell him that his hope to be that has come true. That he is what he's trying to be. That he's succeeding. I hope he hears that.
It was all worth it. And yeah, me too. So on that really soft note, let us end our episode.
나를 아는 그 take one 꿈을 찾는 그 take two 실현하는 그 take three 우린 영화 같은 삶 속 가끔씩은 NG 누구든 실수를 하고 고통도 받아 그들을 모르지만 그 아픔은 나를 No pain, no gain 우리에겐 no waste 고해와 봉쇄 그렇게 fade away 이전하고파 용기를 행복의 기준은 너고 그 길을 걸어 채워주고파 믿음 단순하고 쉽게 배가 차는 케이크 조각처럼 그 조각처럼 밖에 될 수 없는 주제 한 마음이 주체가 된 문제 complain 예술의 평화를 꿈꾸지만 불가피한 전쟁 중 계속되는 일보 후퇴 입어던지는 언제 진짜 같아 나누는 일자 가려진 그림자 빗땀에 비참 해져가는 일단 새싹도 시들게 만드는 가뭄 같은 해답 소리쳐 노래해봐도 난총 같은 이 세상이야 니들 잘못은 없어 부딪혀보고 달려보자고 결실을 맺어 그 조각이 될 수 있다면 큰 한 푼 말 없이 내 이 나라에 먼저 If I 누군가에게 힘 누군가에게 빛 I wish I could be a piece of this If I 누군가에게 힘 누군가에게 빛 I wish I could be a piece of this 난 놀래 그들 같은 날개 열정 있는 자게 꿈들은 밝게 없애주는 nightmare 평화는 be right there 난 놀래 그들 같은 날개 패기 있는 자게 꿈들은 밝게 없애주는 nightmare 평화는 be right there If I 누군가에게 힘 누군가에게 빛 I wish I could be a piece of